Hello again, everyone. I'm Charles Gross.
And I'm Leslie Hoban Blake. Welcome to Two on the Aisle. Tonight, our guest reviewer is Perri Gaffney, a friend of ours who has already reviewed before, who is a working playwright who is collaborating currently on a musical with Mitch Weiss and Harrison Lee, a working actress, as we remember from her time, her last time here. She was in Skeleton Crew. And she also writes for a magazine called Roots Magazine, but it's spelled Routes, because, Perri?
Because it's an African-American guide to culture, and it shows all the routes that we have taken to come to where we are and where we go.
It's a great idea. Tonight, the show that Perri and Charlie will be reviewing is The Kite Runner, based on the novel of the same name by Khaled Hosseini. And I can't wait to hear what you have to say. I remember the movie fondly. So I will see you in a little while.
And as Leslie said, we are reviewing The Kite Runner, and the adaptation is by Matthew Spangler. And this is, of course, a Broadway stage version based on the book. It was also a movie, but this was my first experience with it. And it is about so many things: friendship, betrayal of friendship, the relationship between a father and son who are very different, but in some ways not as different as they think, the immigration experience from Afghanistan to America, and then circling around back to that friendship and the betrayal.
Friendship and betrayal are just classic and eternal, but this one is also, to me, very current because it explores the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan. It explores Russia and Russia's complicity with that takeover. So it is timeless and it's very current.
Yeah, I think it takes place between roughly 1973 and 2001. But yes, it is very current, especially with the relatively recent retakeover of Afghanistan by the Taliban. So a lot of what we see going on there is very sadly still going on today. So this starts off with Amir, played brilliantly by Amir Arison. And he is kind of the narrator of the play. The format is very much like How I Learned to Drive. So he is on stage pretty much all the time, either interacting with the other characters or just narrating. It's a tour de force. I mean, this play is about 2.5 hours, give or take. And he's there and he amazingly pulls it off. And we start off with the relationship between him and his father. He grows up in a very privileged household. His father is a very well-to-do, wealthy merchant. And they have a servant. And the son of this servant and Amir are best friends. And the kite runner part is they have kite flying contests, and I love this part because I do enjoy kite flying. And the competition is to cut the string of the other kite. The kite runner is the person who gets the kite. And his friend is the best kite runner in the land, always retrieving his kite. And unfortunately, on the day when Amir actually wins the competition is the day where, by an inaction out of fear, he fails to defend his friend when he's attacked by some neighborhood bullies.
Amir Arison, the lead, he was beyond spectacular to me. He had to play so many ages. He played a young boy when they were friends, the servant and he were friends, and they're running back and forth and back and forth and back. And then he stops to talk to the audience and he's not like, that was amazing to me. And he had to keep it up. And like Charles said, he's on the stage the whole time, really. There might have been a couple of scenes just briefly that he wasn't, because he's narrating. And it was so beautiful when they spoke in Arabic language, so rich and gorgeous, and you don't know what they're saying, and yet you knew what they were saying because you saw the children's reactions. So when the father is chastising them and they're And then when the father looks away, they might look at each other and laugh. Like it was just
like children. Although
Mhm.
that was the one problem I did have with the play. It was hard to tell how old they were at various times. I wasn't sure, were they teenagers, were they children? I mean, you kind of figure it out, but it was a little confusing at first.
I guess that could be confusing with the play since it's the same people. But I did see the film, and so I did know that they were smaller children and then gradually getting older. And that's why I was so impressed with what Amir Arison did, because he really captured it even though he was still the age that he is.
My father is played by Farhan Tayer, and they are forced to emigrate when the Taliban comes. They have to restart. They have to make life in America. The father is a very hardworking, very athletic person. The son is more interested in writing than in playing soccer, and that does lead to tension between them.
Yeah, and that's a very common thing too. You know, you want your child, especially if they're going to college and you're spending all that money, to hopefully choose a career where you can pay it back and pay it forward. And writing or anything in the arts would might be a disappointment. And when they move to America, the father takes on a job at a gas station. So it's really showing you need to do the things that is going to
And
make you money.
and on the side, they're selling items at a flea market, which is how Amir meets the woman that he is going to marry.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he has a chance to fix the betrayal of his friend. Which, and again, it gets really bad because again, this friend is the son of the family servant, and this betrayal leads to their leaving, which is very painful for the father for reasons that are revealed later in the play. And then finally, after being an adult, after marrying, after becoming a successful writer, we see him going full circle back, to right the wrong, or as best he can, that happened so many years ago. And it's fascinating because, a play where there's tragedy and pain and more pain can get redundant, and you just say, oh, enough already. But here you just want to keep going. You want to see you want to follow it and what's going to happen next. And again, this is my first experience with the Kite Runner, so it was all new to me. And on its own, without having read the book, without having seen the movie, I think this play, which was directed by Giles Croft, stands up brilliantly.
It was beautifully directed, the orchestration of so many people on that stage, and it was a rake stage on the sides. And so that, to me, kind of takes out some of the space you would have. And they really just, they were never crowded on the stage. Everybody moved fluidly. Just really, really simple, clean.
You get some excellent performances, chiefly from not only Amir Arison, but also Farhan Tahir as the father, the chemistry between them, the conflict between them. That's really, to me, that was the performance highlight of the play.
The wife of Amir, who was played by Azita Ghanizada, was absolutely touching. She had an experience herself that filled her with shame, and he was relentless. He didn't care. And that was a beautiful, warm touch to the story. And also the man that played the instruments, there were drums and bells that gave it a lovely Middle Eastern flavor. Salar Nadur, he was wonderful just to set the tone and the feeling for different scenes in the play. It was
Absolutely.
lovely.
Absolutely. Everything just falls in place. And on a 1 to 5 playbill, 5 being amazing, 1 being don't bother, I am going to give this a full 5 playbills. I enjoyed it that much.
I agree with you. I give it a 5. I'll give Amir alone a 5, but everyone is an ensemble. They were wonderful.
Well, it is an ensemble, although at times it almost felt like a one-man show.
Mm-hmm. It did.
Charlie gave a 5. Wow. Charlie doesn't give fives very often, so that oh boy, well, I'm really sorry to have missed it. Well, Perri, as always, you are a very lovely addition to the show. We're starting to call it 2+1 on the aisle as opposed to 2 on the aisle. So tonight you're our +1, and we hope to see you soon again.
Right.
On the aisle.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.